people, it's Gemma back again for another foray into the world of all things mental, emotional, health related. I'm going to carry on from the video I was doing from the last one I did. I am going to get back at some point as well to finishing the sub-personalities mini-series. I've still got two more of those to do. So I'll get them done in due course, but I've sort of sidestepped for a video or two. So carrying on talking about like schizophrenia and things like medication, things like psychiatric wards and stuff like that. Right, where am I going with this? Hang on, bear with a second. Just want to adjust the, sorry about the hand over the camera there. Right, so I was talking about schizophrenia, I was talking about positive and negative symptoms. The positive symptoms, I think I went into a little bit, like your delusions, hearing voices in a lot of cases, hallucinations, visual, auditory, stuff like that. Varies from person to person, varies from moment to moment. I mean, let's face it, the human experience isn't static, but believe me when I tell you there is nothing static about the experience of being in those altered, fragmented states. Total changeability and chaos moment to moment to moment as a general rule. At least it is for me when I'm at my worst like that. So the negative symptoms are something I've had to do a lot of work on over the years, because I was talking in the previous video about medication and how it doesn't do a lot to alleviate the negative symptoms. So what are the negative symptoms? Stuff like lack of motivation, low mood, things like that. Procrastination, all those sorts of things, you know, things that get in the way of general daily functioning. And like I say, I've had to chip away a lot at this sort of stuff just to get myself organized, to make decisions and stick to them, things like that. It's not a quick journey. It takes a long time to sort of battle your way through these things and find ways of problem solving and alleviating. Obviously, consistency is key, repetition, but that in itself is really, really difficult when you're dealing with, you know, constant mood changes and all the things that go along with severe mental health of that type. So, right, I've got my notes. I've got the notes. I wrote these notes for the previous video. Half of them have been scribbled out because I'd already covered them in the previous video. So I'm just looking at what's left here, what I still want to cover in this particular one. So yeah, just the fight for your rationale, for your logic. It's like being in a constant emotional cesspit, really, because you're hyper-aroused, hyper-vigilant all the time, locked out of your body, locked in your mind. Don't get me wrong, I actually think the vast majority of people, because of modern living, are in their heads way too much. And a lot of people are walking around unaware they even have bodies, and sometimes emotions too, because we're all being numbed down with so many medications, so many synthetic chemicals and stuff that isn't good for us. But, just adjusting here. So, my rationale, my logic, I've said before, I've journaled extensively over the years. I journal on things to externalize them and to make sense, to problem solve, to get it out, and to help me see things more clearly. And it takes me out of being overly emotional, into being able to just look at a page and problem solve as I go. I actually don't read back on what I write anymore. Once it's out, I tear it up into tiny pieces, throw it in the bin. Sometimes I've burned it in the past, and it depends what my objective is, really. Sometimes I'm literally just clearing emotion, heavy emotion, writing frantically to get stuff out of me. Sometimes it's more, and more these days, because I'm on the tail end of healing a lot of stuff and closing out a major cycle, basically. More these days, I'm a lot calmer most of the time. Yes, I still get triggered, of course I do, and I'm still walking around with residue of old stuff in my system that I'm releasing, trying to bring myself back into balance. Because, you know, the meds in them, so I was thinking about this earlier, I was out walking earlier. The meds themselves, it's like years ago, people used to say there was a theory put out about schizophrenia was a chemical imbalance. Now, that was pretty much thrown out straight away, but it got into mainstream thinking. I think that was to do with the pharmaceutical industry being able to sell drugs off the tail end of people believing that it was caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. But no, apparently that would never really, according to a book I read, that never really held much credence in the world of mental health and psychiatry and stuff. It was just that that it got into public thinking, and so everyone assumed that yes, it's caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain, things like depression, things like all the mental health. They say, oh, it's a chemical imbalance. It's not caused by a chemical imbalance. There was never any evidence to back that up, by all accounts, and yet it's treated with synthetic mind-altering chemical drugs. It's, and when I say treated, I use the word very loosely, but and I was thinking about it because I was thinking, well, if it's not a chemical imbalance, why are we applying things that change the brain chemistry? There are better ways of doing this. I know there are better ways, but I think the issue is that the way we're living is, I think I've probably said this before, so out of whack that we're all off balance in varying different degrees, and we need to come back to more natural approaches time and time again, because further and further down the line, and I don't just mean in our lifetimes, I'm looking further forward than that as well, much further forward. As we eke it out in the here and now, it becomes less problematic for future generations and stuff like that, I mean, most people will probably may think that it doesn't matter to them about future generations, but most people have got kids. Most people with kids will go on to have grandkids. These things do matter. They are important. And not only that, I personally believe in reincarnation, and that, whatever you don't tie up and deal with in this lifetime, or, karma, laws of cause and effect, you will then reincarnate and have to deal with in future. So not that karma's a punishment. I don't see it as a punishment at all, but it can feel like it sometimes when we're faced with heavy stuff and we've got a lot of intense lessons to learn. But I don't believe the objective of karma or the laws of cause and effect is ever, I don't think the intention is ever a punishment. I think it's there to cultivate empathy and so that we can learn certain lessons. Do I believe we're meant to be suffering as much as we are in the modern age? No, I don't. I think life's meant to be enjoyed, not endured. But let's face it, most of us spend more time enduring it than we do enjoying it, which is a massive shame. And again, for me, this is because we've moved so far away from how we ought to live as beings of nature. So it's yeah. So where was I going next with this particular video? Okay, so when I was on the psychiatric ward recently, now it's taken me years to find my voice, to learn to speak up for myself, to be as coherent as I am now. And I wasn't wholly well at this point, as in I wasn't wholly grounded at this point, and you'll see why in a minute, actually. When I was on the psychiatric ward recently, I was asked to take lithium. The reason being is because the psychiatrist, who I actually get on with, I got on very well with my psychiatrist. He's a decent bloke. I'm just not a fan of psychiatry as a system as a whole per se, and I know not everyone has good experiences with psychiatrists. I've had a few dodgy ones myself, experiences, not psychiatrists as a whole, but that's life. We all lock horns sometimes. We all don't see eye to eye. It's a case of seeking resolution, I guess, and yeah, learning to see from other people's points of views and perspectives, learning to work with people. But so anyway, and it wasn't my psychiatrist, it was someone who was standing in for him at this particular review. But I'm guessing they discussed it with him, because he had said that he no longer saw my label as schizophrenia, he saw it was schizoaffective. So basically, this does make me laugh, and it does, because it's these labels, it's like I think that really does highlight and show that they're not technically diagnoses if it's that easy to leap from, well, actually, no, this is schizophrenia. Oh, no, now it's schizoaffective. And why? Why was it changed? It was changed in my case because I was getting highs. I was clearly going off on very, very alive. Now, I don't have too much of an issue with this insofar as, all right, I needed grounding. Well, I'll get to that bit in a minute. I definitely needed grounding. So I agree with him insofar as, I was definitely high. I definitely was at times. And then going into lows as well, having the dips afterwards. So I could sort of cycle relatively quickly from being up to down. But my mood is kind of like that anyway, just less pronounced on a daily basis. And emotions certainly aren't aren't static, they're fluid, they're changeable, they change all the time, just as I said earlier, as our entire experience does, moment to moment. It's just that some changes are more subtle and some are more pronounced. So I was asked to take lithium because of the new schizoaffective label, and because they could see how high it was. Now, because I've learned to speak up for myself over years and to formulate my own thinking, I was back on the aripiprazole at this point. It was still kicking in at this point, so I wasn't fully, but I managed to say, look, no, I refuse. And they asked me why. So I explained my point and I put it across, and I said, look, I said, for me personally, if I were to go on lithium, I said I'd be in the same ball as a ball. It would be the same ballpark, the same ball game. I think I'm crossing my my references, my sayings over there, but ignore me. So this, basically what I was saying was the same thing would happen as happened with the antipsychotics with me, of course, lithium being a mood stabilizer. I was put on antipsychotics in my early 20s, and to this day, I haven't managed to get off them. I said to them, so what's going to happen now? We're going to introduce lithium, hypothetically speaking, at which point my body may seemingly respond to them in the early days, but further down the line, I'd probably become quite unwell because lithium's a pretty harsh drug. And I said to them, or the other thing is, so I said I'll probably become increasingly more unwell physically. I'll need more medication to balance out the effects, the lithium, negative effects of the lithium, and then have it on my systems. Then we throw more meds into the equation. I said, or the other thing is that I take the lithium, I don't respond, I end up worse. I then have to come off the lithium. That's not going to do my system any good either. We then have to introduce another drug to counterbalance the fact that I went on lithium in the first place. I said no, I point blank refused. And I explained this very clearly and very calmly, and I think they understood why, because by the next week, I'd been doing at this point progressive muscle relaxation exercises every day. Now, the combination of that, of me slowing down, and beginning to pay more attention, becoming more and more grounded in my own body. The combination of those things within the next week, by the time I had my next review, I was a lot more grounded. And funnily enough, I'm a lot more in my body now than I ever have been since being traumatized at a young age, or since everything really kicked in and started going tits up for me around about the time of puberty, actually, because it takes a while for difficult childhood experiences to really eke their way through your system. But then, time of puberty, I'm talking 11 years old, the cracks were showing with me. That was very early. So so that's what happened with me recently on a ward with lithium. Now, I think that it's difficult, it's a grey area, because I understand that the chosen methods of psychiatry are basically labelling and medication, and a lot of people with schizophrenia wouldn't be able to speak up for themselves in that way. The only reason I can, there's a time when I wouldn't have been able to, where I wouldn't have known enough or wouldn't have felt brave enough to put my point across. I wouldn't have been clear or confident or have had the self-belief in order to be able to do it. It's taken a lot of work on my part to get through, to be able to function in that way. A lot of work. I'm 44, I was labelled 18 years ago, and I was suffering, as I said, from my mental health severely from my early to mid-20s onwards, and then my mental health in general from the age of 11 onwards. So it's been all my life, which is probably why I've become a bit of an old hat at it by now. So that is the story of me refusing lithium, which I'm bloody glad I did, to be honest. I'm glad I had the clarity at that point to be able to speak up for myself and say, look, no, and explain why I was saying no. So what else do I want to cover in this video? Yes, I know. So it's a bit of an offshoot, but it does relate. I have spoken before about the feminine and the masculine shadow. I think about the feminine shadow being very submissive and passive. Well, I'm going to go into it in more detail here now anyway. And about how the masculine shadow being more angry, aggressive. So because of my dynamics growing up, my relationships with my relationship with both my parents and various other factors, I was very passive, very wouldn't say boo to a goose for quite a while in like my teens and 20s. I say that, I wouldn't say boo to a goose. No, I wasn't that passive, but I was passive emotionally. I was passive when it came to knowing my worth, to asserting my needs, to having boundaries, all those sorts of things, it took a long time to gain the clarity I've got now. So emotionally, I'd sort of like just brush things off, let things go, but I wasn't really doing that. It was just that it was all getting stored inside me and I was too afraid to speak up for myself. I didn't really feel like anyone had my back. There are times now when I don't really feel like anyone's got my back. I kind of feel sometimes like I'm out on a limb going it all alone, because I sort of became fiercely independent in order to survive a lot. And yeah, I think being independent, that phase was necessary. There's great value in it, but I would like at some point to rejoin with other people, to get back out more in community and to have more of a sense of direction about where I'm going with things. Whether that'll happen or not, probably at some point, who knows, and who knows how, where, when. But yeah, so the masculine side. So what I was going to say was, in order to kind of, when I started getting in touch with all my wounded and all those deep raw emotions that hadn't healed, it brought out the masculine shadow more in me, the emotional masculine shadow of, I think I didn't know how to assert myself. So it brought out this passive aggressiveness and at times this verbal aggressiveness. I mean, I've said in former videos, my mental state when I'm really unwell is very aggressive anyway, but it was aggressive in general. It was my head screaming intrusive thoughts at me even when medicated, you know. So yeah, I went through a necessary phase of having to find the value in learning to balance the two, so that I was less in the feminine shadow, less in the masculine shadow, more in the feminine light or balance, and the same for the masculine opposing side, because as I've said before, we've all got both energies. We've all got masculine and feminine energies, attributes, traits, so on, so forth within us. And the key is always going to be, to anything in life, seeking that middle ground, seeking that balance, trying to find the middle path, you know. So I'm doing that you know thing again that I've mentioned and referenced in previous videos. It had gone away for a while. It's bloody back, you know. Yeah, I do. I certainly do, because I've noticed myself doing it. Anyway, so yeah, and I think that was a very valuable thing for me. It kind of went from almost one extreme of the shadow to another extreme of the shadow to, you're going to have to balance this, woman. And it's funny, it's only sometimes as we're near the end of a certain lesson that we look back and we realise, firstly, just how much we've learned. Secondly, how bloody proud we are of ourselves for everything we've learned, because it's like, hey, nice one, woman. Things I've learned over the years just to survive, not only to... Yeah, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And I am deeply proud of myself for it. Because a lot of it I've dragged my sorry ass through on my own. And like I say about that independence thing, you know, it was necessary for me to learn my independence, and it is valuable. It definitely is. Because I think moving forward, as I go out, meet new people, find new avenues, stuff like that, which I will do gradually, I will gravitate towards deeper connections, truer connections that are of connections where my value is recognized, and vice versa, where I'm around people that I see, I honor their true worth, they honor my true worth. Genuine connection, deep connection, that's, you know. And I'm not just talking about a romantic relationship, I'm talking about all kinds of friendships and working relationships and everything like that. That's what I'd love in the long term, to have my own little, to be part of, not my own little, to be part of a community that operates in that kind of way, that's mutually beneficial. And who knows what's going to happen, who knows what the future holds. So, and hopefully that can help me with a career as well, because, you know, these videos, I would love them to take off, of course I would. And I don't see anything wrong in the fact that I want to have a career with these videos. Whether it'll happen or not, time will tell, but I'd love it to happen. And I'd love it to happen for a few reasons. Yes, I'm doing what I can to help others. Yes, I'm validating myself in sharing my own story and sharing everything I've learned. But also, when I look back in retrospect, if I hadn't have been dealing with such extreme mental emotional issues for so long, I could have had a career years ago. You know, I got denied all of that because of the extremity of what I was always living through, and it wasn't for the one to try in. It was just there were always more layers, more layers, more layers, more to learn, more to break through, more self-sabotage to work through, alleviating and healing from, and integrating, and you know, lots of different things, lots of different things. So, have I covered everything I wanted to say in this video? I think there may be more notes on the back. But no, I think I'll tie this one up here. But I will leave with a poem, actually, because I haven't done one for this video. So, yeah. Yeah, because I've got other notes on here, but I want to do a separate video for that so that I can keep it condensed, because that'll be quite an interesting one. I'm quite looking forward to making it. So take a walk with me across my living room while I grab out of my bag my book, 50 Shades of Insight, The Inner Workings of Schizophrenia, available on Amazon to anyone who wishes to get a copy, and it would be massively appreciated. I don't know if you got a flash of how messy my table was then. Oh no, because the camera's facing on me, isn't it? So I got to clear my art table up. I'm such an artist, I can be chaotic at times because my environment's a lot cleaner than it has been historically. As it someone said to me once, tidy house, tidy mind. I was like, yes, there is a lot of truth in that. It's the old as within, so without, and vice versa. Right, where is this poem? So it's called You Can Heal Symptoms, You Can't Heal Labels. It's in here somewhere. I've gone past it. I just accidentally missed a page and I think I may have gone past it. I've gone past it. I think it was the one. Oh no, it wasn't. Right. Bear with. Guys and girls, bear with. Hey, if you're on your own at home making videos, you've at least got to make yourself laugh, right? It's a strange experience doing this. It's kind of like talking to myself, and I've just got that flash of, Gemma, you're literally sat here talking to a camera, but always mindful in the back of my mind that I'm going to be publishing this so other people can see it. It is an odd one. It is an odd one. It's, yeah. Ah, there it is. So there is the image. Would you like to see the image? So there's the image. So there's me throwing my label away. And here is the said poem. You can heal symptoms, you can't heal labels. So you can't heal labels, so I've thrown mine away. It offered zero insight into what I live through every day. Very often when you're labelled, you get stigmatised as well by those who do not wish to know the story you have to tell. It's simply just an easy way of not looking underneath, going below the surface of the torture, pain and grief. See, a label tells you nothing, it's simply just a word, and the word schizophrenia has been demonised for years. Oh, my hand's a bit shaky there. Hang on, 2 seconds. Don't normally pause like this mid-poem. I'll get back to it now. It's brought about through trauma and being victimised, only compounded by the attitude of societal despise. Through ignorance, fear does breed with media-fed lies. So I tell my truth now, educate the once unwise. Of course you can heal symptoms, that is true, you see. Once the label has been stripped away, you'll heal what's underneath. Time it takes and strength as well, for multifaceted it may be, but you gradually peel each layer back and heal yourself, you see. Tablets cannot do this, for they only control and suppress the symptoms that block from being whole. Homeopathy is helpful to heal the ancestral lines and free you energetically from miasms you may find. For it is not possible just to think away your traumas, it must be felt somatically to release you from your torment. So get into your bodies, though not easy, I know, for trauma disassociates you from your rightful home. Therapy is also good, bringing self-reflective states to straighten out your thoughts and also heal your moods. Affirmations too can help to reprogram your mind. Using them subliminally is useful, I do find. Take the time to heal your wounds, there are many ways. If you seek, then you will find, take it day by day. So I do just want to say on here as well, so obviously I am referencing the label, but because I don't see it as a diagnosis, because I don't truly own it, it's kind of like, it's for the benefits of communication as well, and to say, look, I'm not denying my experiences here. It's just that for me, I can speak of the label schizophrenia and yet still know that if I break it down bit by bit by bit, I don't have to see it as some umbrella term or see myself as some label, some I am schizophrenia, which clearly I'm not. And if I do that, if I forget about the label long enough to go, okay, what's problematic here? What needs healing? What needs breaking down into increments and working on? That's one of the ways in which I've come as far as I have on my healing journey, is because I didn't just, and for a long time I did own it initially. I did own the label, because that was kind of like, I was told I had it, I'd never get well, and all those sorts of things. And I could have just laid down and took it, and I did own it for a while insofar as it seemed like a healthy, a bit like with the feminine shadow, masculine shadow thing, how I was, yeah, very much. It's interesting. What I'm saying is how we change over time, because it was a similar sort of process of, I was very in the ownership of schizophrenia. I then went polarized and went, oh no, I don't want this. And then I sort of began to balance and find the value in both approaches, and in just seeing it as a label and working on, but not minding that I have the label. Not that I minded anyway, I didn't. It was more that I was trying to break through or break free into ways of looking at making my life better and easier for myself. I mean, it is just a word. It means nothing, tells you even less in many ways. But at least for most people, because most people don't even have an understanding of what's behind that word. There's a lot behind that word. Yeah, it means a lot of different things, and it can mean different things to different people. So I am going to tie that up there. I'm going to watch this back, see if it's suitable for YouTube, and if I'm happy enough with it to upload. And if I am, then I shall do so. Okay, and I shall do my usual spiel before I leave. Firstly, thank you to anyone who's taken the time to watch this video. Greatly appreciated. Feel free, if you enjoy my content, to like, share, subscribe, comment if you wish. Much love to all of you. Au revoir. See you next time. Bye-bye.